Now, for the main event. I'm thrilled to be here today with you as we dive into a topic that is the topic of our time, it seems, generative AI, a technology that has the potential to change just about everything. Those of us who are ready, or those who aren't already experimenting with it, unfortunately are already falling behind. In our inaugural in-person event forum, say that fast, last month, today's speaker did a dive into just how groundbreaking generative AI tools will be for all of us. At the request of attendees, we're doing an even deeper dive today into a critical element for success with these new tools, and that is the prompt. Dianna Wilusz, I cannot say your name, Dianna. I'm going to write it on the chalkboard 1,000 times. Dianna
Sure.
Wilusz. It's super easy. Dianna Wilusz, CEO and founder of the Pendolino Group, stands at the forefront of integrating generative AI into human resources and business strategy. Her expertise and leadership are shaping the future of how organizations leverage AI to enhance human resources functions and drive business success. She advocates for a balanced approach to AI and technology in HR and business strategy, ensuring that technology complements the human aspect of your business and HR practices. Dianna, thanks for sharing with us today. Turning it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I just put in the chat there, Willis with a SZ equals Willis with an IS.
I put that in my notes and somehow I still can't do it. I got a mental block.
Fantastic. That's all good. All good. And I just want to check everyone can see my screen. I'm really excited to be here today and follow on in our conversation with regards to utilizing generative AI, whether it's cloud AI or ChatGTP or Bard or whatever your flavor du jour is of this particular technology, and how we use the technology as HR professionals and HR practitioners. And Danica, thank you so much for the opportunity to be with the audience today, to be here to support Merit HR's initiatives and Ascot, everything that you're doing for our HR profession, and continuing to help us hit that sweet spot between human resources and business strategy and technology. So for some of you who know me already, we've had a chance to connect up in earlier sessions, and some of you are, of course, meeting me for the first time. One of the things that I'm incredibly passionate about is this intersection of humanity and technology. And what does that represent for us? And really thinking about it, it is this opportunity to be able to leverage technologies to enhance the humanity and enhance what we're doing in the world of human resources in our business. So I'm going to lay a little bit of background. I know some of you have had a chance. We've been in the room together, and you'll have seen some of this information. But I want to really make sure that we have a solid foundation in the context of how this conversation is coming about. And one of the things that I think makes it a very poignant conversation for this point in time for us in our profession and in the work that we're doing. And so let me go ahead and jump in. You've got a little bit of a sense of my background. Let me tell you a little bit more about who I am and why this is a really exciting area for me. My background is a combination of human resources and human resourcefulness, if you will, and technology. I have a combination of engineering in my background, along with human resources and psychology. I've been in the tech world most of my career. And since starting Pendolino Group back in 2009 in the Bay Area, it really gave me an opportunity to start to branch out and to get exposure to other organizations. And as all of you know here in this conversation, what we do in human resources in one company often is very easily translatable into another company or another environment, primarily because we're dealing with people, right? And why I love that is that it gives us as HR professionals the opportunity to bring a plethora of experiences from different areas into any environment truly that we walk into in that business space. And so we can think of ourselves as business people who happen to know an awful lot about HR. Now, why that's important is that when we start to introduce technologies into that environment, the philosophy or the principle that we approach that with, I think, is extremely important for us as well. And so from that perspective, what I advocate and am just on fire about is that technology is designed for us to help us deliver better results. So often we talk about it's there to help make our jobs easier. Sometimes you may hear people concerned that technology may take their jobs away. It's not an unusual concern. And I'm here to say my belief is that's not the case at all. In fact, I heard a great quote. This was probably about 8 months ago now, about tools like ChatGTP and generative AI in particular. And the statement was, ChatGTP, that's not going to take your job away. It's the person who knows how to utilize those tools. That's who's coming after your job. So thinking about it from that standpoint, why not immediately get ourselves in the room, get familiar with the tool, start using it, and figure out how to use it in some really creative ways. Not only for creating content that may be part of our communication plan, for example, or it might be an email that we need to respond to, or some text for an offer letter. Not necessarily in those contexts alone, those are good bases to have, but also from the standpoint of, can we use this technology, something as simple as generative AI, something as simple as ChatGTP as an example, can we use that technology to actually help us make better decisions? Can we use it to actually help us design programs? And so ways that we can then shape that content and really strike up what I'm going to call a dialogue, and we'll go into that more as we dive deeper into this. So that's the question I'm always asking. As I'm entering into it every time I interact with the tool, and ChatGTP 4 is my go-to. That's my primary. But this applies to any tool that you use. Anytime I interact with those tools, I start to go into it with, I wonder what would happen if. And in fact, one of the exercises that we're going to do a little bit later on came directly from that question. I wonder if I can use a tool like ChatGTP to actually look at multiple candidates, find some hidden talents, and potentially even use the tool to help me select who would be best to lead a large tech project for my company. And so we're going to go through that exact scenario, and I'll show you a little bit about how that works. It's really mind-blowing. And so I welcome everybody here. I'm excited that you're here to dig in and to play around with things. And I do like the interaction. So please, if you've got questions, drop them in there, and we'll move along. Okay. So a little bit of background. I believe we are truly in a unique moment in time. And why I believe that is that a tool as simple as the generative AI, as simple as that tool is, when it came crashing into the market, and I'll show you some statistics here in just a moment, I mean, it took off like wildfire. It was an application that within days, there were 1 million+ users of this application. And it's one of the fastest growth applications that's ever been witnessed or experienced. Now, it existed previously in the background, but as soon as it was brought out into the general environment, it took off. So if we think about that, this is an application that really does have the ability to usher in multiple large organizations and companies. There are companies springing up all over the place now that are utilizing this technology. Of course, for us, what we're most interested in is how can I take it and how can I use it in my role as an HR practitioner to actually help me accelerate the work that I'm doing, help me make it go faster, give me a good solid foundation so that I, as an HR person, with all the experience that we have here in the room, can actually apply my bigger thinking to the solution. So I can actually move into even, we call it that more strategic orientation, but I can actually accelerate into that. So how do I leverage this as a tool from that perspective, okay? So let's just take a quick look at this in terms of the pace of change and how it's accelerating to give you a sense. So the birth of the internet was 93, 94 timeframe, Mosaic and Netscape, all right? So some of you will remember those particular applications. Then we got into the adoption of smartphones. That was just in 2007, if we consider the Apple iPhone as kind of the adoption point of smartphones, all right? Then we got into cloud services in 2010, and you can kind of see this curve that's starting to happen. And ChatGTP came out into the market in 2022, November 22. Now get this, within 48 hours, there were 1 million plus users of ChatGTP, just of that one application. And quickly on the heels were Bard and Cloud AI and other apps, Copilot with Microsoft, and how all of these tools are starting to come about. Within 2 months, there were over 100 million users. That's how fast this thing is going. And it also, I believe, speaks to truly how simple the application is. And that's what I want to help share today, some of the simplicity and how you really get this thing to dance. I'm going to call it that, okay? So software tools, technology tools, they will do what they do. Our work as the practitioners is, how do I get this thing to dance? How do I get it to do some really cool things that help me move along? So we should have no doubt at this point that the business models are changing. They're already changing. They're not about to change, but they are already changing. And the underlying technology is the widespread use of these kinds of tools. So today, we're not going to go into how do I govern it inside of my company and the utilization of the tools. We talked about that before. We're not going to go into how do I ensure the ethical use and the transparency. We'll touch on that a little bit, but we're not going to go deep into those areas. Today, we're going to be hands-on. So there was a very real demand and request, show me how to use this thing, right? Give me some tips and tricks. And this is an entry point. So we're going to be hands-on in how to use it, how to write good prompts, how to not write prompts, right? What will get you kind of off into the hinterland, so to speak, versus if I can craft a really good, tight prompt right from the beginning, when I'm using a tool like this, how quickly can I get to a solution that I can quickly pull over if I need to put it on a spreadsheet or I need to put it into PowerPoint? I can quickly move myself then into the translation, okay? So have no doubt, pace of acceleration, the adoption is accelerating. It's being utilized inside of our tools. So what's all the hype, okay? So foundationally, what is exciting about this space right now, whether it's generative AI, which we're going to be hands-on in a moment, or it's robotics, all of these things could actually have this profound implication. And of course, Sundar from Alphabet states that it could be as impactful as electricity or fire, or maybe even more impactful than electricity and fire. That's how it could quickly shift the way that we're thinking about our work, the way that we're doing our work, okay? And quite honestly, it doesn't just limit to work. I don't know how many of you maybe have played around already with writing a recipe, utilizing ChatGTP and saying, I've got a half pound of shrimp in here in my freezer, and I've got, some lemons over here, and can you, give me a recipe utilizing the shrimp and the lemons that I have, and see what it comes up with. And quite literally, you'll get some pretty good recipes out of this. So think about it from that standpoint too. Don't limit yourself, get creative and have fun. The more we have fun in this, the more we're going to learn and the more we're going to accelerate our applications. So Elon Musk, of course, companies have to race to build AI or they will be made uncompetitive. In other words, whatever we're doing in our business right now, in our HR world, we have to be embracing this. Absolutely. And when I say have to, obviously we don't have to do anything, but that is my hope, is that we as a profession, that we truly embrace these tools, because it gives us the opportunity to be on the leading edge of a conversation, a meaningful conversation in our business. And one of the hands-on exercises, we're going to write a compensation and total rewards philosophy. And we'll crank that thing out in probably 5 minutes. And you'll be amazed at how tight that message will be. And it gives you something that literally you'd be able to walk into your leadership team and say, okay, here's the first draft. This is what I think we should do based on what we have. So we're going to craft meaningful content out of this as well. And Peter Diamandis, I'm a big fan of Peter Diamandis and the X Prize and all the amazing work that he does also in generative health, and it's just truly incredible. His statement, there are two kinds of companies at the end of this decade two kinds, those that are fully utilizing AI and those that are out of business. So when you think about it from an HR profession standpoint, for us, there'll be two kinds of HR people, those who utilize AI and those that are looking for a different career. This is a great opportunity for us, and it applies regardless of what your business is, profit, not for profit, whether you are a solo HR person. In fact, if you're a solo HR person, this may actually be the thing that makes the solo in-house HR person's job that much more tolerable and enjoyable. But for any organization, if you have an HR team, for example, I'm starting to do work with teams in-house to be able to go deep and actually take real projects that they're working on, utilize those projects as a learning platform so that we can accelerate the capabilities of the HR team in-house. And I've got one client right now that said, all right, we love what you've done already with the HR team. We now want you to bring that same expertise and that same advanced training and bring that now to our finance team and to our engineering team and teach us all how to use this tool, how to make this happen, okay? So I'll give you a couple of examples. So where are we headed? We're gonna do a deep dive. Why now is the time? I think this first part of the conversation right now hopefully gives you a sense of why now is the time, why it's important, and why it's exciting, truly exciting. And we're going to go into ChatGTP and some of its capabilities, and specifically around prompting. That is the key for effectively utilizing ChatGTP, writing good prompts. And there are certain practical tips I'm going to give you that when you follow along with these and apply them, you will see your prompt results going from, I guess what I would call, maybe for lack of a better analogy, going from high school level to bachelor's level to master's to even PhD level, if you think about it that way. That all comes from the quality of the prompts that you're utilizing, the context that you give, the perspective that you give. So that's what we're going to work with, is how do we really craft good prompts. And I know we talked in one of our prior sessions, we talked about there's a whole nother career path that's coming out of this as well. People who are literally, they are so good at prompt writing, they get hired to write prompts. That is their job. That's how fresh this technology is and how fast it's moving. And so as you get really good at prompt writing, I don't know, maybe that turns into a way to expand your role as well and to help accelerate the capabilities again inside of your team and your organization as well. All right. I want you to also walk away inspired with some ideas of how you can apply AI prompting, some practical examples having done it in this discussion, in this session, and also some ideas that you can go and you can try out with your teams or try out with your role. Okay. A particular project maybe you're working on right now. All right. And then we'll take a quick look into what the future holds, because this is the beginning and it's accelerating. There is more and more coming about. And anyone, here in the room, again, how fast things have accelerated. Okay. This just gives us the idea that the curve is growing, it's growing fast, and that we can even go to some of these tools now today and ask the tool how best to use it. So what do I mean by that? For example, we can go to ChatGTP and we can ask ChatGTP, what is the best way for me to write the prompt? And it will teach us. Okay. We can ask ChatGTP. I saw one of the questions in the chat earlier. What is the most efficient and effective way for me to move content from ChatGTP into PowerPoint? We can ask the tool itself how best to use the tool. So that's how I want us to start all relating to this tool, okay? That it is there to work with us, okay? And you can actually converse with it. And that's some of what you're going to see here is how we refine and how we converse with the tool to generate better outcomes. So let me give you a couple of examples. Some of the clients that we've worked with, some that we're actively working with right now, where we're utilizing ChatGTP and these tools to be able to go through and enhance their programs or design brand new programs for them. So first off, in the space of identifying key areas for AI integration, these are the tools that you can literally ask, again, where can we best apply it, given my company, the context of the company, if I'm a nonprofit, who are the people that I serve in that nonprofit, at what age are we, how old is the organization, what's the audience like, and actually ask the tool to be able to tell us what are the top 3 areas that I could focus on to integrate AI into our business. Can answer those kinds of questions utilizing the tool itself. Again, when you really be thinking about this tool is your assistant, and think about it from that perspective, okay? The next is around being able to invest in the right talent and technologies. And I'll show you an example around the talent that I think will just be like a mind blower, all right? It's one of those where literally we can figure out the best talent amongst all of the team members that we might have. Let's say that, we might have 1,000 team members. We zero in on our sales team. Now maybe we've got 200, and I zero in on my frontline or my inbound sales team. Now maybe I've got 20 people. And of those 20 people, I can actually profile those 20 people and be able to identify in that group what are the strengths and the capabilities of that group vis-a-vis a job description, and be able to do matches that way and identify where I may have skill gaps as a result. Now, this is just ChatGPT. Again, that's my go-to tool. It all works, whether you're in BART or your Cloud AI or any of the other ones, the same approach, the same methodologies work, okay? Also, data quality. So these tools give us the ability to look at data, to upload a spreadsheet and have it go through the spreadsheet and identify where there may be gaps, logic gaps in that data, or where there may be particular trends that are being represented by that data, okay? So the ability to do that. And then, of course, at the end of the day, and again, this is the passion around technology and humanity, by its very definition, it fosters a culture of innovation, all right? So I want you, at the end of our session today, I want you to have an increased level of confidence in utilizing the tool so that you can bring it out to your teams, to your organizations, and really explode the utilization of this content or of these particular tools, all right? All right, so first thing I want to do, if we can drop everybody into a real quick breakout group. We're going to do a short breakout group, and it looks like we've got about 60 folks. So let's just do a quick math-wise, let's 59 people now. Let's go ahead, and if we could put people into groups of 5, and I just want to do a quick 3-minute in the breakout groups. And here, where do you use AI today? Where does your company utilize AI? In particular, I want you just focusing on generative AI, okay? So if you would be so kind as to help me put people into groups, that would be awesome.
I am ready when you are.
Great, let's go ahead and do it. And let's do just a 3 minutes, so very short, a chance to meet each other, and one place where you're utilizing generative AI today, and then we'll come back in the room and we'll look at some specific case studies.
All right, here we go.
Thank you.
Hi there. Apologies. Looks like we have way more than 5 in each room. I know a lot of people have dropped out or chosen not to do the breakout, so we'll just go with it.
Let's go with it. Let's roll. I love it. That's awesome. That's awesome. Let me take a quick look at the chat to see what we got. Okay. Yeah, policy updates. Beautiful. All right, Bill's here. Great, good. Okay.
Looks like there are 7 to 8 people in each room.
Okay. All right, great. So when we get them, when everyone comes back, we'll just ask them to drop into the chat some examples of how they're using it today.
Okay.
Awesome. Do a quick screen switch and see. Can you still see my screen?
Yep, and I'm looking at ChatGTP.
Awesome. Okay, I figured it out.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start the closure process. It counts down from 60 seconds, so
Okay, great. Thank you. I can't see the countdown, so just let me know when we're back.
yep, folks are starting to re-emerge.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. All right. So as we're all coming back into the main room, good to have everybody back in here. And awesome. Hi, Bill. Good to see you. Great to have you on board. And so, yeah, put in the chat, if you would, please. What are some of the ways that you're utilizing generative AI today? I saw a couple in there that were referencing updating policies, for example, going in, doing job descriptions, the I want to talk a little bit more about the PowerPoint piece and just show a little bit on that also. What are some of the things that we've got coming in here? This is great. LinkedIn articles and posts. That's a great one. Policies, company emails. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Email, first draft procedures. Absolutely. Yes. PowerPoint. Wow, what was this? Grandson is writing his own game and asked AI to generate a picture of a cat eating macaroni and cheese. That's awesome. That's great, Jenny. Absolutely love that. Job descriptions. Yes. Announcements, banners, a lot of content, marketing images. Yes. Resumes, right. So a lot of resume activity is going on right now. You know, I certainly don't have any statistics on this. So let's just call it a lot. I've heard that a lot of candidates are utilizing these tools to write their resumes now. And there are tools, there are applications that are out there now, ATS solutions that are out there that are designed to be able to discern hidden skills, even though a resume may or may not have the necessary keywords, but to be able to discern those hidden skills and capabilities that a person might actually have. That their proposals, grant writing, yes, that's great. Yep, AI images for presentations, just amazing stuff in the ways that we can utilize these tools. And so let's dive in a little bit, because I'm going to operate on the assumption that, you know, some of us may be seeing this for the first time. We may not even have our own account just yet. And, you know, if you're at that starting point, and if you don't have your account just yet, you know, please go hop out and go grab a free one. You know, ChatGTP 3.5 is free. And so go ahead and grab that. And some of us are starting from that very beginning spot. And, you know, and that's where I was, November 22, that's where I was. I was at that very beginning spot. And then I kind of dilly-dallied around with it a little bit. And I was like, well, this is kind of cool. And then about 3 months into it, I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is really interesting. And I'll give you a little tip, what cracked it open for me in being able to really start to integrate the tool into my day-to-day practice. And so I'll give you that in a moment. Others of you are doing some pretty fancy things already, right? So, okay, yep. So a service that's offering to do your resume for $250 with a promise to get you hired. I love that. That's great, Paul. So, you know, yes, please create your ChatGTP account, and we're going to play around with it and how we start utilizing it. Again, remember the curiosity. So first off, here are a couple of very real examples. So over at SoftBank Robotics, one of the things that we're doing over there is we're utilizing it to streamline the recruiting process. And in this particular case, it is about discovering hidden talent. And I'll show you that hands-on here in a moment. So if you don't already have handy, if you can grab 2 or 3 resumes. If you've got some on your desktop, that's great. You know, just, you know, grab a couple of soft copies, because as much as we can do hands-on in these exercises, I want to do that so you can really experience it. And if you don't have a couple of resumes laying around, you know, one of your own perhaps and somebody else's, don't worry about it. You'll see the example live. But if you do have it, I want you to be able to play around with this one. Next, over at Rhodium Group. So this is around enhancing the employee engagement. And one of the things that we did with them was that we helped design their mentor program. So this is a company about 50, 60 employees, and they wanted to introduce a mentor program with some very specific intentional outcomes. And that's important to understand. When we're doing our prompt writing, the more specificity we can provide in terms of the context, the audience that we're speaking to, some specific outcomes that are necessary in the program. So rather than saying, please, you know, give me an outline for a mentor program, that's like the universe is wide open, right? And who knows what we're going to get back. But if I can be really precise about it, and I can say, I've got a group of, you know, I've got a group of 60 employees. I want to have a mentor program that has maybe 5 mentors in it, no more than 2 mentees per mentor. I want to be able to build the program so that I can match people up across organizations and create, you know, intra organization experience. I want to design it to be a 6-month program. Every month, I want to introduce a new topic to the pairings, and so give me some suggestions on those topics. Now, give me an outline for a program and include in there the rollout package, the rollout information. Okay, so you can hear the specificity in what I'm describing, and that's going to be part of the art of doing this. So we designed a mentor program for them, and we were able to go from design to presenting it for review and validation within the course of a day. And by being able to do it that fast, what it allowed us to do was to own that program going forward and to be able to manage it and drive it and refine from there. And so it actually helped us move that ball very, very quickly. Now, it doesn't matter if you're in-house HR, you're a consultant. I was in-house HR for 25 years before I started Pendolino Group, and we operate as effectively as in-house HR for a lot of our clients. So it doesn't matter, what your role is. You want to be thinking about, how do I leverage this as a tool? Okay. Heller Group is another great organization. Heller Group, they do software implementation, Salesforce, Microsoft. They do software implementations, large scale, for nonprofit organizations. So they're very oriented towards the methodologies and the technologies and the project management. And so with them, we worked with them to create a comp philosophy, and that's going to be one of the exercises I take you through. And then over at Stanford, having this ability to utilize these tools to take content. So to actually take content from Slack, for example, or from Teams, content that's been written by the team, and put it into ChatGTP or into Cloud AI, put it into that environment and ask it to analyze that content and to deliver back sentiment analysis from the language that's being used, the tone of a conversation, for example. And you can get quite it can be quite profound when you start leveraging the tool to provide feedback to you that way. And it gives you a level of insight into your organization that you quite possibly don't have today. Okay? So be thinking about it that way. A lot of the examples that I saw in the chat had to do with something you were creating to put out in the world, right? So to speak, to put out into your organization or to update content, okay? We want to leverage this tool both ways. We want to leverage it in terms of analyzing existing content and giving us insight to it, okay? And then for our own team, we utilize this a lot in terms of the AI solutions and how we're operating and continuing to improve how we're operating, and then sentiment for our own clients as well. What are they saying to us? The tone, again, being able to pick up on a thread of content in a conversation and to be able to ask, what's the sentiment? What's the orientation? How do I move this ball forward? How do I continue to create a deep sense of collaboration and get coaching from the generative AI that way? Okay. So be thinking about it in these different ways. All right. So who's ready to get started and try out a little prompt here? Okay. All right, awesome. Let's dive in. So what I want to do is I want to lay the groundwork for the 5 things that are most important when we're creating powerful prompts. And as we create those prompts, we want to be testing against this as a checklist, if you will. Okay. And as I mentioned earlier, we can also go to ChatGTP and we can ask, what are the top 5 things I need to do to ensure I have a powerful prompt? Or what are the top 10 things that I need to make sure are in place to ensure that I get the best results? Okay. So I'm going to focus in on the top 5. First off is clarity and specificity. So what do I mean by that? The more specific I can be in my request, it will help the AI tool zero in on an answer or a result that is in line with my desired outcome. Okay. which means that then any of the refinements that I do from there, I'm actually starting at a spot where I've got a pretty good solution in front of me right now. Now I want to fine tune it to a particular more specific audience or a more specific timeline, or elevate the language. You know, maybe the initial, it comes back and it sounds a little basic in terms of its answer, but I want to elevate it up. As I was using, you know, the education levels previous, I want to elevate it up into a college level or a PhD level, or a 25-year HR senior leadership languaging. Okay, so starting out with as much clarity and specificity as possible is key number one. The second is context. And this is one that sometimes gets missed. Providing the context is absolutely crucial for guiding the direction, okay? So where I can provide some background, and you heard me give you an example when we were talking about the mentor program. When I described the context, we have an organization, 65 employees, 5 different divisions. These are all highly educated people, and and this is going to be a mentor program. They've never had a mentor program before. They're very interested in using a mentor program to build intra-organization relationships. That's all context, okay? And why that's really important is, again, now I'm going to get a solution that is, rather than it being a generic solution off the shelf, so to speak, it's going to be a solution that it's being tailored now to the environment that I'm providing, or that I want to provide it to, okay? So exceptionally important to provide context. Another part of the context can also be something along the lines of, I want the language to be written. So by telling ChatGPT, you are a CHRO at a 1,000-person hospital setting, okay? And you've been asked to create let's stay with a mentor program that provides, and now I provide context for that. That's all context setting. So now when I say, okay, now provide this mentor program, provide it in an outline, and that I want to be able to see it as a detailed explanation with a summary, and an leading with an executive summary, and then provide an outline of the program, and then wrap it up with another summary, okay? All of this is doing clarity and specificity, context, and then the expected format, okay? And there are some things we can do around format by saying, hey, and put it in a .ppt. So for PowerPoint, put it in a .ppt format, and literally it'll generate the result, and it'll put it in an exportable format where I can then hit the button, export it, and export it straight into PowerPoint, okay? So these pieces are all important. The other two are around tone and style. So every one of our organizations has culture, and some of those cultures are going to be based on very formal, highly educated, this is the tone. And if content is presented in that tone, it's easily understood, it's related to, because we're an organization of scientists. Other organizations are going to be much more laid back and more casual and easygoing, okay? So you want to also tell the tool, what's the tone, what's the style that we're going for? Again, our goal is that our first output, or at least our second or third at the latest, that those are really matching up to the organization that we're looking for, in the way that we want to relate to the organization. And then lastly, in the top 5, lastly is around limitations and boundaries. So what we're looking at here is we've set direction, and we also want to say, don't go here. Okay, so if there are any limitations or any specific directions that we want to ensure we don't go to, again, we want to define what those are. Now, let's step back from the tool for a moment. If you look at this and you think about maybe somebody on your team who is new onto your team, and you've got them working on a project, what are the things you usually talk to them about? You give them clarity and understanding, specificity on what you're looking for at the outcome. You give them a little idea of the context of, who's the audience, and how you want things to be formatted, and what kind of tone and style is important, and where are some spots from experience just don't work. All right. And effectively, you're doing the same thing here. Right. So connect that and be thinking about, we're giving these instructions to a team member, and the generative AI is one of your team members. Okay. Now, of course, we should look at what causes prompts to fail. And by fail in this particular case, fail might be that it comes back and it's like, I'm not going there, I'm not answering it. And most of these tools now are going to do that. So if you venture off into an area that's more of a restricted area, or it's an inflammatory topic, you're getting into those spaces, just like we typically won't go there as HR practitioners, the tools also will not go there, or they will certainly become very vague in their answers if you try to go there. So aside from that, though, what prompt failures often are is that there are responses that come back that are just so general that you're finding you need to do a lot of work and rework and just trying to get there. And sometimes that can get quite frustrating. So what are those things? Of course, lack of clarity and specificity. If I give really vague or broad prompts, I am going to get generic answers. And part of the reason for that is that these tools are based on a lot of information and knowledge that is living inside, from the internet standpoint, there's a lot of information that's out there. And so the AI just can't discern the specificity, the nature, the precise request if I am too broad on it. Ambiguity in our language. So any ambiguous language, again, it's open to many interpretations. So the precision of the language, the intended meaning, and where we can refine that meaning is beneficial. And then inappropriate or restricted topics, as I mentioned. So many of the AI models they're going to stop you. They're not going to go there, or they're going to be really cautious in the response that you get back. Okay. Context is probably, while it shows up number 4 on here, context is probably the one that I've seen most recently, that when you nail the context, the outputs, the quality of them just, it exponentially improves. All right. And then overly complex requests is the other one. So if you give ChatGPT 3 or 4 things to answer all at the same time, it will start to get confused, just as anybody on your team might get confused. So again, keeping our requests, I'm gonna call it simple, and you'll get really good at the languaging and how you can tweak and refine your language. In fact, there's a powerful question that you can ask when you're doing a prompt before you actually say go. So let's say that you've written that prompt around the mentor program as the example. You've written the prompt and you've got it, you've just got it in there. Maybe it's 3 or 4 sentences, and it doesn't have to be really long and complex. So you've written 3 or 4 sentences, you've got the prompt in there, and you add in one more thing and you say, is there anything else you need to know before you generate this result? Is there anything I haven't told you that would be helpful in generating the result? So you can ask it those kinds of questions. How can I improve the result that either you've already given me or that you're about to give me? So think about that. Is there anything else I can tell you? Are there any other questions that you need to have answered in order to generate this result? Okay, so be thinking about that as well. Again, it's a dialogue, and this is your master tip. Your generative AI is your new college grad hire. Think of it this way. We have a new college grad that's just come onto the scene. They have access to all of the information and all the data that's out there. They know how to find all of that data. All right. All you need to do is give it the direction you want it to go, give it context, continue to refine, delegate and refine. Know that the tool, as your new college grad, is eager to give you a great answer. And they've got access to all this information. They're going to find all that information. So switch your thinking now that your generative AI tool, whether you're fresh in utilizing ChatGTP as of today, or you've been using it and you want to just take your game to the next level, think about it as this is your new college grad hire who's just joined your team. They've got information, they know how to find answers, they're eager to do stuff, they're really eager to get great answers and get great results for you. As you refine, you give them all the context and the direction. As you refine it, they're going to be bringing it back. Okay, so that's your master tip. Okay, all right. So we're going to do a hands-on exercise. And what I'd like to do is just pause and let's just take a quick look and see here what kinds of questions we might have coming up, if any. And then I want to do, let's see. Yes, no personal identifiable information. Thank you. That's a great, it's a great point. I want to double click on that one real quick. Always remember that when we're working inside of a tool like Cloud AI or Bard or ChatGTP, that this information is held by those companies, this data that you put in. So don't put in personal identifiable information that applies globally, right? Nothing HIPAA related, nothing along those lines. So you want to speak generally from that perspective. I typically, absolutely don't put people's names in there, right? Company name is different. I mean, that's publicly known. But if you're working through a scenario with, for two people, an employee relations scenario, for example, and you want to put in, this is this person's perspective, this is this person's perspective, please help map out for me a way to bring the two perspectives into alignment. We can use the tool to do that, but don't put the people's names in there, okay? So we don't want to get into anything again, because it'll be, it's going to be held by cloud or by ChatGTP, OpenAI, or whatever. It's going to be held in those databases, okay? All right, does that make sense? All right, awesome. Put a 1 in the chat if that all makes sense for me, please. Give me a little feedback. 1, thank you, thank you, thank you. Awesome, all right. Okay, yes, crank them up there. All right, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, are you guys ready to jump in? Let's switch it to zeros. Are you ready to jump in and do a hands-on? 1, 0, put zeros in the chat. Let's go, let's go, let's go. All right, sweet. Okay, here we go. All right, so I want to do a hands-on exercise. The very first one, I got super excited when I did this for the first time. And, and full transparency, I was working on exercises for us to do. And this one came about Monday afternoon. In fact, I said, I wonder if I could do this, because I know that I've done scenarios where I've created staffing plans utilizing ChatGTP and being able to identify skill gaps, right? I wonder if I can take this and I can actually use it to identify a hidden talent piece and top skills and be able to zero in on this. So we're going to do a quick example here. The prompt that we're going to be going after is evaluating multiple candidates. We want to identify the best candidate for project leadership. And we're actually going to do it in just in basically three questions. So first off, I'm going to go into ChatGTP and I'll show you this, and feel free, if you've got yours, your ChatGTP or Cloud or Bard, if you got it fired up, great. This is if you do have a couple of resumes, awesome, you can play along on yours as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it to analyze some resumes for potential hidden skills. Excuse me again. I'm going to attach the resumes to the prompt, and then I'm going to ask it based on the hidden skills it's identified. So it's going to give me some answers to begin with. Based on the skills it's identified, do we have anyone on the team that could lead large company projects? And it'll be interesting. You'll see kind of the results that come back. It's going to be analyzing all the candidates. And then I'm going to ask it to tell me who the best person is. And that's kind of going that next level, because I want it to help me in making decisions. Okay. So let's go ahead and we'll pop over here to ChatGTP real quick. And so I always like to get a little personal. Remember, this is my college grad, it's on my team. So, so I just like to set the tone, and, out of habit, I guess, more than anything, I'll say good afternoon or good morning or great to see you today. And let's just kind of get that little banter going there real quick. And so, yeah, so first off, I want to say, let's see, can you please help me? And again, follow along if you've got yours. So I want to ask it to analyze these resumes. These 3 resumes for potential hidden skills. Now, you can imagine that in your work environment, you might have a team, you're looking for a project leader, and you kind of have a sense based on what people have done in the past, but who knows, we might have some other great people on the team that we just haven't connected up with yet, right? So, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach these, here we go. So let me go here and just got to find my resumes real quick. Bear with me here. Hang on one moment. I have handy. There we go. All right, so I got my 3 resumes here. I'm just going to go ahead and drag them on over and drop them on in. Okay, here we go. All right, so I've got my 3 resumes. So I just, we're all familiar with the paperclip. So I just brought those resumes in here. I've got 3 team members we're interested, and right now I just want ChatGPT to tell me potential hidden skills. In other words, there's what's on the resume, but based on the themes, based on certain assumptions, if you're in a particular role, there might be transferable skills that are necessary for that role. And so these might be hidden skills or hidden talents that don't just naturally pop out because of the title or the word that the person put on their resume. And you can do this if you're looking at candidates and you want to compare 2 or 3 candidates. Maybe you're down to a short list of 2 or 3 finalists, and you want to just see, is there anything else just like nuance in there? And so ChatGPT is going through right now and it's kind of pulling up these highlighted things, like for Ben, for example, adaptability and change management. Okay, that's great. And that's being drawn based on kind of the organization that he was a part of and some of the things that are known about the context of those organizations. All right. Jeanette from a strategic HR implementation standpoint. So you can get the sense right off the bat. I mean, this is a pretty in-depth analysis that's happening right now, and these pieces that are being pulled out. Okay, so we're getting crucial skills for leadership roles because Jan was coaching and development, and so that could lead to or suggest skills for leadership that require building strong teams. If I'm building a team out, we're looking for that. So just in the first pass, now I've got some really interesting perspective on these particular candidates that goes beyond what's on that piece of paper and their resume. Remember, one of the things that I'm going after is around leadership or leading a large company project. So let me go ahead and drop this in, and this is in the materials as well that you'll have. So I'm just going to say, based on the hidden skills. And by the way, if you use ChatGPT or any of these on your phone, you can actually voice all of this right in on your phone. So you can just speak to it and it'll speak back to you as well. There's that option that it'll read it out loud to you. So take advantage of those types of pieces as well. So based on the hidden skills you've identified, let's see here. Do we have anyone on this team that could lead a large company project? Okay, and so I want you to just kind of watch how this result comes back for us. So do we have any here that could lead a large company project? Now, what's interesting is you'll notice that my prompt was still kind of broad, right? It was a large company project, anyone on the team. And sure enough, I'm getting a pretty general answer because there are skills that each one of these candidates has that could help facilitate if they were leading a large company project, okay? So I want you to also take away from this kind of the power of that language Okay. And so from that perspective, now it's given us a little more specifics and it's gone into conclusion. So for a project focused on organization transformation, Ben Gaines looks like he might be a good one. If the project is centered around HR innovation, Jeanette would probably be better. If it's around leadership development and coaching, then Jan would be good. So it's kind of taken that knowledge and that skill again, and it said, okay, well, basically what it's telling me is depending on what kind of project, here's what could happen, right? So as you get more and more comfortable in utilizing the tool, you'll also see that it's giving you feedback, okay? Because in this particular case, now what I want to do is I want to look for who's actually going to be the best person to lead a large company technology project. And technology wasn't actually listed on here, was it? So, so I'm just going to say, based on your assessment, which person will be best to lead a large company technology project? All right.
Hey,
And
Diana, I just want to quickly interrupt. I'm so sorry. I just want to point out that the version ChatGPT 4 that you're using is a paid version.
yes,
And the free version actually does not allow attachments.
yes, good point.
So there'll be copying and pasting information from the resume, the majority of our folks here today.
Yes. Okay, great, great. Yep. So copy and paste that content in, and then it'll have this analysis. That's a great call out. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. And again, you may decide after seeing this that what is it, $19 a month, I think, that it's totally worth it. Totally worth it from a time saver standpoint. Beautiful. Thank you. So let's go ahead and let's see now what ChatGPT has to say based on this analysis. Who would actually be the best for the large company technology project? So it's thinking a little bit about that, and it's called out Ben. And so while everybody's got great background, Ben, based on what it has seen, would be the best for technology. Now, I happen to know all three of them, and I happen to have experience with them in this area, and I would wholeheartedly agree with that, that based on what I've seen him do in reality. So ChatGPT got to that spot. And you can see also that I could have asked a more precise question in my second prompt. So based on the hidden skills you've identified, which one of these candidates could be the best to lead a technology project? So I could have shortened that even further, but I wanted you to get a sense of how to interact with the tool as well. Okay. So what do you think about that? Drop it in the chat. Is it a 1? Do you love it? Can you see it as a potential for you, and how much this can help accelerate what you're doing? And is it starting to like, oh, some light bulbs, some things that, okay, yeah, love it. Love for sure. Love it. Awesome. 1s. Beautiful. All right. That's great. Okay. So this is designed to show you a bit of the power just in now I'm going to call that a simple example, only because I know that if any one of us, if we sat down with multiple candidate resumes in front of us and we're looking at all of that and we're trying to figure out, based on what we see, what do we think some of the hidden skills are? What do we think some of the transferable skills are? And based on that, trying to decide who do we think could actually has the potential of being the best to lead a technology project, that might be a good hour type exercise. And we just did that inside of, I didn't watch the clock, but I'm going to venture to guess it was probably inside of about 10 minutes, maybe fewer than that. Okay. So get creative, be thinking about it. You want to play with it, play with the tool. Okay. And try stuff out. All right. Let's go ahead, and I want to jump over into a next exercise. And this one does not have any file attachments or anything like that. So this will work for everybody, regardless of what version you're on. Okay. And this is an example that we see more and more companies doing, where they are generating job descriptions. And one of the things that's nice in the generation of job descriptions is that you can also guide ChatGPT on how you want the job description to be laid out. So for example, we might want to have information in there about what are the prerequisites for the position, and what are the core skills required for the position, and then what are the deliverables of the role. Okay, and so let's do a simple one, and we're going to now create a prompt to create a job description. It's a new position, and it'll be let's make it a software company. It is going to be a job description for an AI prompt engineer. I mean, what does an AI prompt engineer do anyway, right? So let's go ahead and let's see what ChatGTP has to say about it, okay? So our prompts are going to be, and our dialogue. Start thinking about this again as a dialogue, and we're going to do this intentionally this way. So we're going to give it the first prompt. We're going to give it some context. We're going to be precise in our request. We're going to be really clear. This is the first time we've hired this particular role. We're going to ask it what should be included, and then we're going to refine from there. Okay? So I want you to get the practice of the refinement. Okay. So let's go ahead and we'll jump on over to that one. Okay. All right. Again, you know, I love to just banter a little bit. Okay. So we'll just thank it for that. And if you have any more, feel free to ask. Good luck with your project. Awesome. It's always that nice positive feedback as well, right? And let me share a little story with you why I learned that kind of banter, if you will, that kind of interaction is actually really important. What's happening with the tool as you're interacting with it, it's learning about you. And I had a colleague who was providing prompts and was getting answers, and the answers were very favorable. And he was starting to get a little irritated because he wanted to have some answers that were contrarian to what his focus was. And he was like, why aren't you giving me, the risks, why aren't you pushing back on this? And the response back was, well, your prior stuff, you wanted this orientation. He's like, okay, got it. And now for this one, I want you to tell me what's wrong with this proposal. And it softened a little bit, and he pushed harder. My friend pushed harder on it, said, tell me what are the top 3 things that are failure points in this proposal, and got really precise in his language, and then got that information back. Okay. So why that's a really helpful anecdote is, again, remember, this is our new college grad hire. It wants to make us happy. It wants to satisfy. And so sometimes we have to push a little bit harder to get it to give us the pros, the cons, the failure points, to challenge our thinking as well. Okay. So think about it from that perspective. Let's go ahead. Let's jump in on actually writing a job description. Okay. So let's just put it this way. So I'm going to give it some context. I'm going to set up the tone. Who is the ChatGTP? All right. So again, you are the head of HR for a small software company in the Bay Area. There are 35 employees, and we are hiring our first AI prompt engineer. Okay. Okay, so by saying you're the head of HR for the small software company, I'm starting to set the context, and that will frame how the language comes out. The fact that there are 35 employees, it's a small company, implying that it's going to be a little more precise and maybe a little more relaxed in the languaging, okay? By telling it it's the first AI prompt engineer, it's going to come into this understanding that we really have no background on it. We really need to have the fundamentals. Okay, now I could be even more precise, and I could say, provide very specifically. So let's do that. Please provide a job description for our first, and talk to it this way, okay? For our first AI prompt engineer, it's an actual conversation, okay? So our first prompt engineer, and include, all right, so maybe I want now overview of the position, specific skills that are prerequisites. Okay. Minimum education requirements. Again, I'm going to start with, I don't know what those are yet. Okay. So, what is the minimum that's necessary? And then let's also include 10 specific deliverables for the position. Okay. Precision. All right. Let's go ahead and see what it gives us. Okay.
While we're waiting for our response, just want to give a quick time check. We're about 15 minutes left today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great. Yep, that's great. And I want to do the compensation and total rewards philosophy as well. So I'll do that one. And then the others are hands-on. There are 2 more hands-on that you can do after the session as well. I want to make sure we open it up for questions too.
We might just have to have you back, Dianna. Lots of good stuff.
Awesome. I love it. And I'm continuing, we're all learning in this, right? We're all learning and getting some very advanced pieces as well. So not only do I have now this description that's given me specific skills that are requirements, TensorFlow, Python, experience with version control systems, perhaps, preferably Git, so it's giving us actually tools that are relevant for us to utilize, but also the minimum education requirements. And then I specifically added in about the deliverables for the position. So, to look at this, in having this, I can also start to develop goals. So I might even get a little fancier with this and say, what are the best, what are the top 3 goals this person should focus on during the first 90 days when they join the team. Let's just see what it comes back with. So during the first 90 days, right, here are the 3 goals that it should focus on. Again, from ChatGPT's perspective, right, what's going to help this person become successful during the first 90 days. All right. And now I can lay this out because we all know the first 90 days are absolutely critical, right? It gives the opportunity for the person to get to know the team, to start working with the tools, to get oriented to the organization, to be able to do, some small scale pieces as well. So now I've actually got the beginnings of the 90-day plan for this person when we hire them. Put a 1 in the chat if you love this. All right, awesome. Yeah. Love it. Awesome. Okay. All right, beautiful. So one of the things that you can see, I mean, I'm doing this real time as well about the 90-day goals. I didn't have that in the prompt example, because we all have such vast knowledge in this space of HR, and we know so much about what it takes to go from the hire all the way through what I call the life cycle for an employee on our team. We can actually start to lead into questions that are downstream, and so I enter into it with the question of, well, what if, why not? Why not ask this question and see what it comes back with? And if that now helps me go from, I've identified somebody, I've got a great job description, and I'm going to be hiring someone. And what's the very next thing I need to be thinking about? Well, after the hire, I need to be thinking about how do I help them be successful? So that's the first 90 days. Great. Well, let me ask, while I'm in the thread and I'm in this conversation anyway, with ChatGPT, let me go ahead and let me ask that question too, right? And start laying some groundwork for it, right? And we can refine from here. Okay. So ask what if, ask why not. Think of it as your college hire. Really be in a dialogue with it. It's learning your tone as you're learning its tone. Okay. We can rewrite this content and say, all right, I realize we're actually a company of a lot of scientists. And so, rewrite this job description in a more formal tone. Okay. So this is the dialogue. Okay, be thinking about it from that perspective. Okay, all right. So I want to do the compensation and total rewards philosophy, and just show you that one of these pieces and how it can be super powerful. And I'm going to generate it. I'm going to ask it to generate it into a PowerPoint format, so we can just take whatever it creates there, and I can get it into a PowerPoint very, very quickly. Okay.
And just as a reminder, that's a feature for version 4.
For version 4. Thank you. Yep. That's right. That's right. Again, I wish, I mean, I wish version 4 was free, but what was it? I think I saw in the chat, $20. Trust me, totally worth it. So, and even if it's not, if you're not using version 4, there's only one little tag I'm going to put here in the prompt. You just don't do it. And you can copy paste content straight over into your PowerPoint. Okay. It's super easy to be able to do that. Okay. So thanks again. So, please help me write. It's typing away while I'm writing. Please help me write a total rewards compensation philosophy.
You missed the word right, Diana. I'm going to edit as you go.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Help me write. Thank you. A total rewards compensation philosophy. Appreciate it. For our company. And I'm going to go ahead and put Heller Consulting in here. This is the company that we did this for. And include these features of our program. All right. So I want to go to, oops, I hit my, yeah. So it's going to say, yep, here you go. It's going to give me some generic thing. Okay. Because I forgot to give it my features. Let me just stop that. Okay. Okay. Let's say, please start again and use these features of the program. Okay. So we pay at the 50th percentile. Our benefits are top notch. We have a bonus program that targets the 75th percentile at that targets the 75th percentile. Let's see here. We have a flexible time off policy. So what I'm doing, again, specificity, and anything that's true about your compensation program, your benefits program, the name of the company. Okay. If we are in multiple states, so if you list the actual states that you're in, or you can just leave it broad. We're in multiple states, and always seek to balance cost and rewards across different pay markets. Okay.
Diana, you missed multiple states. You said we're in multiple.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. Love it.
I'm super excited about this one. So.
This one. It's great. I love it. All right. So, and I'll just say, and again, our company name. So I'll drop company name in there again, just again to make sure. Our company name is Heller Consulting. I mean, I want this thing to be as close to complete as possible, right? And and please keep it to no more than 2 pages in length and readable. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and generate it. If I wanted to kick it into PowerPoint, I would also say, please provide the output in .ppt format, just so you know. Okay. So you can add in the .ppt or the .xls, or and it'll code it and then allow you to download it straight into that format. Okay. For now, because I want everybody to be able to see this, regardless of what version you're using, I'm just going to take that out and let's see what it has to say. Okay. All right. So here's our total rewards compensation philosophy, and it's going to kind of give us this great starting point. Wow. All right. Fairness and transparency. Strive to offer salaries that meet the median market rate, positioning us at the 50th percentile. Ensures our pay rates are competitive and equitable. Benefits program, pride in offering top-notch benefits, cater to the diverse needs. Bonus program, okay, 75th percentile. All right, multi-state consideration. Okay, so you can see now how it's spitting this thing out, and it's actually allowing us to, you know, I mean, this is a pretty darn good starting point. Our total rewards comp philosophy is a testament to our commitment to our employees, offering competitive pay, superior benefits, right? And so there you go. We now have a total rewards compensation philosophy. It is a starting point for us. This may actually get you to the spot where literally you could take this and you could just copy it and drop it into a Word document or drop it into PowerPoints if you wanted to do that. But now you have something that you can actually start walking around and talking to your leadership about and gaining their alignment around it. Okay, so we've gone from blank page, the need for, to a first draft where indeed we have a philosophy and a statement about the various components. And of course, in total rewards, we're going to have things like training and development as well. So we can add in training and development. We can put in there, what are some of those key aspects? Okay. All right. So drop a 1 in the chat if you love that. Okay. Yep. Awesome. Really love it. Okay, fantastic. So we have more hands-on stuff. I know we've covered a lot. And so what I want to do is just kind of leave this with, you'll have access to all of this. What was that? Okay, you'll have access to all of this, and you can go in, you can work the prompts as well. Remember the things that are critical, being specific, being able to provide context, being able to be in that dialogue. These are the things we want to focus on. Okay. And I definitely encourage you to dive right in. So, you know, I love what this one piece here is. Generative AI the end of the world as we know it? No, it's not. Is it the end of IT? No, it's not. This is that beautiful intersection between where humanity and technology